Okay, this is an impromptu video. I'm set up for it here, but I'm not writing a script for this one. This is going to be a word study for the word week in Scripture, week and weeks. And the reason for it is because it is a big deal in Daniel's 70th week prophecy. So looking at this word right here, Daniel 9:24, 70 weeks are determined upon thy people. And that word week comes from this Hebrew word here, which we've got right here. This is a great website, by the way, if nobody knows about it, blueletterbible.com. Excellent source of research. So, how does it sound?
Strong's H7620. Shavuah.
Shavuah. Shavuah. Okay. Well, I don't speak Hebrew. I speak English. So that's the Hebrew word that means week or weeks. Both the singular and plural ultimately come from that. And we see here that the King James translates that word as either week or weeks, it's singular or plural, or the word 7 in one place. So when we go through all of these instances where it is the word week from that Hebrew word, every time we look at it, almost every time, it ends up being a week of 7 days. I will even point out the one time where it is translated as 7. Not week. It ends up being translated one time as 7, and it's in this verse in Ezekiel, and it's meaning 7 days. Okay, so every other time, these Daniel ones here are obviously the subject at hand. Here's 2 more times in the book of Daniel. In those days, Daniel was mourning 3 full weeks. So that's going to be obviously weeks of days, right? I'm pretty sure that wouldn't have been a week of years, because Daniel would have been mourning for 21 years. I'm pretty sure that's not what he meant. And this verse goes along with it. So we're talking about a week of days there. These are the verses in question here. So let's see, that's 7 days. Jeremiah appointed us weeks of the harvest. This verse, if you look at it, is talking about weeks of days. And the Feast of Weeks is a week of days. And the Feast of Weeks is a week of days. The Feast of Weeks is a week of days. The 7 weeks, 7 weeks shalt thou number unto thee, beginning to number the 7 weeks. This is talking in context, when you look into the chapter, about a week of days. Unto the Lord after your weeks be out. This is talking about a week of days. She shall be unclean 2 weeks unto her, as in her separation. This is talking about a week of days, obviously. She's not unclean for 14 years. All right. Exodus, a week of Feast of Weeks, is talking about a week of days. And then there's these. Okay, these are the first usage of the word week in Scripture. Fulfill her week. And we're talking about the story here of when Jacob went off and fell in love with Rachel and wanted to marry her and ended up having to work for 7 years. All right, so this is the only time in Scripture where the word week, and it's the first time in Scripture too, where the word week is actually talking about 7 years, not 7 days. What does that teach us? That teaches us that the word week does not always mean a week of years, and it does not always mean a week of days. In today's culture, we always think of it as a week of days. That's pretty obvious. But Scripture does tell us through the Rachel and Jacob story that it is also a week of years. Why is that? Why can it be used both ways? Because the actual definition of the word just means 7, or a period of 7 days or years. It can be used either way. Okay, a heptad and a week. A period of 7 days is the primary definition, the Feast of Weeks. but it also, as a secondary, that's why the B is there, can also be used as a week of years. So it can be used either way. Now, why am I harping on this? If I gave you 69 bowling balls, and then I gave you one golf ball, I am still giving you 70 literal balls. This prophecy works the same way. If God gives us 70 weeks, are determined for Daniel's people, he can give us 69 weeks of years, like the big, huge bowling balls, and then give us one little tiny week of days, and he's still given us 70 weeks. That's the whole point. Nobody has seen this so far, it seems. And so I made videos on my YouTube channel about, let's see, the first one I did was this, Satan's root lie in these end times. This was actually a video that I made out of a YouTube comment that I had been posting. And in the comments sections of these, I get people always complaining that, well, you can't switch from a week of years to a week of days. I disagree. I think the grammar makes it able to do that because that is the key to unlocking the prophecy that God wanted somebody to figure out eventually. And he waited until apparently these days, because I've never heard anybody else teach this until now. Does that make me special? No. It just makes me the first, I guess. And I can't believe that I'm actually the first person to recognize this. The word week can be used both ways. Everybody knows it, but nobody wants to attribute that to Daniel's literal 70th week. Okay, I get all these comments talking about flip-flop between actual weeks of 7 years to actual days. That's such a stumbling block for everybody that I'm making this special video to show that it can be done. And it's not breaking scripture. I'm not doing anything bad by doing this. So Daniel's 70th week was already fulfilled a long time ago by Jesus Christ. The Passion Week of Christ. From the moment of the triumphal entry, which was the last day of the 69 years, that evening began the new day. And from that point on, the 70th week of Daniel was a week of days called the Passion Week. It started with a couple of days of Jesus teaching. The Olivet Discourse was part of that, Matthew 24, 23, 25, etc. Parallel passages in the other Gospels. That was all part of the first half of the week. He was the king of the Jews at that point. The triumphal entry is when he became king. And he was he was teaching for the very first part of the week. And then on the night of day 3, he got arrested. They had the Last Supper. Then they went to the Garden of Gethsemane, and he got arrested. And going into day 4, literally in the middle of the week, he was put on the cross. It was 9 in the morning when he got put on the cross. It was 9 at night on the night of the triumphal entry when the week began. So literally 3.5 days after the beginning of the Passion Week, he was put on the cross. That's exactly what Daniel 9 says. In the midst of the week, where is it? And in the midst of the week, he shall cause the sacrifice and the oblation to cease. That's exactly what the sacrifice, that's what the crucifixion did, is it was the final sacrifice. It was the real sacrifice. And it happened literally 3.5 days after the beginning of the 70th week. And then 3.5 days later after that, Jesus had been resurrected and he had appeared to many. And what did that do? That confirmed the new covenant. Seeing our risen Lord was what confirmed the New Testament. God bless you all. I hope this made some sense to somebody.